Hey guys, it's Jeremy, and this is going to be a new kind of video that you're going to see on the channel. This is going to be called Life by the Square Inch, and I've got a lot of live plays or actual plays on the channel, but I want to kind of branch out into videos where I talk about gaming a little more, or show my crafting, which is something else that I'm into, and so I'm going to kind of label all of those videos as Life by the Square Inch videos. And I'm going to go ahead and start that, kick it off now with the 30-day challenge that's kind of been put out by Absolute Tabletop, who I am a member of their Facebook community, a group of fantastic people. But today is the day that they have launched their second Kickstarter for the book, The Dead Man's Guide to Dragongrin, which is already successfully funded. Congratulations, guys. So they put out this thing that is a questionnaire, kind of as a challenge, 30 days, 30 questions for you to discuss certain questions about your homebrew world. And I have several, so I found it really hard to choose between them. So instead, I'm just going to attempt to answer these questions for all of them. So without further ado, here we go. The first of which is Rostveen, which is my main homebrew world. And the question is, what is the 30-second elevator pitch for your world? So Rostveen is a world of fantasy that is culturally diverse, that draws on the mythology and history of many of the real world's ancient civilizations. It's a world where dragons were created as beasts of war by early men before turning on them. And it's a place where the gods rose from among these same peoples to combat these same ferocious monsters. And after reshaping existence, these deities were isolated to the new realms that they had created. Now their names are being revered, and they hold sway over the world of their mortal followers once again. The second one is Arath. This is a tidally locked world where one hemisphere is always bathed in the harsh light of the planet's 3 suns, while the other is forever shrouded in night under the guidance of its pale moon. Between these two sides, there's a barrier of dense, swirling mist called the gray, and it's said to be nearly impossible to pass from one side to the other, and not only because of how easy it is to lose your way in this fog, but also it's said that those who wander there are they find abominations within, and they rarely ever leave that place. The third world is Acid Rain. The year is 2012, the near future, a collection of islands that used to be a city in a mostly utopian world. There's skyscrapers and bridges and homes and businesses, but there was a nuclear meltdown, and it was evacuated, and it later became a dump for the mainland's trash. But then a company came in and bought it, and they had the bright idea to turn it into a prison, where they started dumping a different kind of trash. And now the world kind of tunes in pay-per-view style for front row seat for the carnage and the mayhem that happens every day in this place because there's no rules. The fourth setting is one called Dowrenland. This is a place that's formed from the dreams of children. It's a place where it's kind of between other worlds. But the whimsy of this place has grown darker and more sinister. And outsiders have come and tried to save this place before, but they failed. And this time it may be too late. Dowrenland is a setting that's heavily inspired by the worlds of Wonderland and Oz, with a myriad of other classic fairy tales kind of sprinkled in. But they certainly aren't the versions that you'd remember. The fifth setting is Caldera. This is a fantasy western where there's an ancient kingdom that was destroyed by the very magic that it so readily wove into its everyday life. And those of the neighboring kingdoms to the east believed that this was sinful and unbridled use of magic, and that this actually caused hell itself to open up and swallow the kingdom. Now, hundreds of years later, the land is now mined for magic secrets that were buried, and they caused this kind of frontier western area to boom. And although magic is heavily regulated, in a place where even the law kind of plays things loose, the line between good and bad is a little less defined. So the sixth setting is one called Chrome City. And this is really more of a setting within a setting, as it was made specifically to exist within the world of Harbinger, which is a setting that's also made by Absolute Tabletop, but that's still being play tested. But Chrome City is kind of an 80s themed dystopian far futurescape that is somewhere between Blade Runner and Judge Dredd and Thor Ragnarok. It's a grimy, crime-ridden, overpopulated city that is ruled by an out-of-touch noble family called Sept Aldemont. I run a lot of noir kind of games in that setting. The seventh and final setting that I'm going to talk to you about is one that's new, that I'm kind of still developing, and I think this questionnaire is actually going to help me a lot along with thinking about it to kind of bring it a little more robustness, and that is Momentum. Momentum is a flat world where it was once inhabited by giant beings that set it in motion, and now it's kind of slowly decaying, just like the towering remains of the creators that were left behind. These remains are the people's evidence that their gods existed, and they believe that the gods left them everything that they need to survive. However, now these resources are kind of dwindling, and the world itself seems to possibly be dying. So that's the first question. Day one, what is the 30-second elevator pitch for my world? Well, that's the elevator pitch that I've got for the 7 settings that I'm going to be focusing on for this series of videos. There should be 29 more to follow this, and with any luck, there will be a lot more content like this on the channel. So go ahead and hit subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the like button for this video if you enjoyed this content, and stick around. And until next time, may your dice roll high and your snacks always be within reach.